As you can see, I'm getting ready to reinstall the hood. Gotta protect everything, of course. And actually, I'm also gonna set up this pole here. I don't know if I'm gonna use it really, but I'm gonna have it handy just in case I need to prop up the hood once it's in place. And I hope the alignment is gonna be pretty darn close where it needs to be. I left these areas. You can still see a little bit of the lines that I made prior. So hopefully that'll put me really close where it needs to be. Got all my tools, gloves. Now I have to go and recruit my neighbor again, see if he can give me a hand. Stay tuned. Yes, I totally forgot to film this portion of installing the hood. I was gonna do a time lapse, but between getting everything ready and getting my neighbor, setting everything up, I totally forgot to set up the camera. So not that you can see much from a distance, but it would have been cool. I think it would have made a good time lapse, but oh well. And now what I have to do is just finish making little adjustments, but so far so good. Hey guys, so yesterday I was kind of making some final adjustments, trying to get the gaps nice and even, which if you've done that by yourself, you know it's pretty difficult. But anyway, I wanted to share with you before I even had a chance to remove, which is something I like to do, the locks or strikers. I always get confused. I don't know if these are the latches. Yeah, that's a latch, and this is a striker. But anyway, I had the hood down, and I was making sure that it was aligned, and sure enough, I pressed down here, and the damn thing goes click. So I'm like, okay, this is not happening. So I go in the car, I try pulling the hood opener, and the thing just kind of popped up a little bit, but it got caught. I'm sure it was one of these areas. I think it was this area here got caught. I don't know which side because I couldn't see. But anyway, I was like, oh my God. And this side actually was open. So I was trying to force it to see if it would pop out, and it wouldn't. So I went in the house, I had something to eat, I watched TV, and then I came out here, tried again, same thing. Long story short, I went in the house again. I was gonna go to bed, and I was like, no way, it's not gonna win. So I came out here, and I had the hood was down, of course, this side was open, and I tried again, and it wouldn't budge. So finally what I did is I thought, well, it got caught somewhere. And of course I couldn't move it forward or backward. So the only chance I had was to move it either in this direction or this direction. And by messing with it, I was always trying to pull it in this direction, which didn't do anything. So finally what I did is, as the hood was down, I kind of pushed on this side as I was trying to lift, which is pretty awkward anyway. But that was enough, maybe 1/8 of an inch. That was all that it was required. And it finally just, bloop, it popped out of there and it opened. So then I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna touch these things again. So the only thing I did was I removed them, both sides, and then I could, kind of have the hood down all the way and try to do my adjustments. And then finally, what I like to do, and this is what I wanted actually to share, I didn't film it because I was so frustrated last night, but it's like, I put these in place and I tighten these, but just enough so they're still, even though there's not a lot, they're not loose, there's still a little bit of movement. You know, it doesn't take much to move either side, and I work one at a time. So I did that. These come off pretty easily. There's just 2 nuts here and 2 nuts there. That's all there is. And so anyway, again, they were kind of loose. And then what I'd like to do is just lower the hood. And these almost, the strikers almost like self-align. And I just kind of push down a little bit. I didn't lock it again. And then, you know, they get centered, and then carefully I open the hood, and then I tighten these things. And that's all that's necessary for the hood to be adjusted as far as the latches go. So next what I'm going to try to do here, one-handed, which is always challenging, is to, let's see if I can do this. Lower the hood. I never just let it close by impact. And of course I added a couple of little rubber bumpers to help align the hood. What I like to do is just lock it by hand. So there it is. Wow, there's a lot of pressure. But now it's a lot better as far as the gaps are not perfect yet, and I'll admit to that because, again, by yourself, there's only so much you can do, but at least I got it to get closer here. And this is still, by the way, a little bit kind of up. It's always kind of been a little bit like that. And I think that the new foam liner that I added is not helping, but again, it's just so insignificant. One thing that I was happy about is that now these things are pretty even against the fenders. This side maybe could use a little bit, but again, you know, when you're all by yourself, there's only so much that you can do. But anyway, let's see if my hood opens now. And there it is. Yep. It's open. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys because I thought it was kind of funny. And also it's something that happens to a lot of people. These things are, I mean, they're good systems, but pretty awkward. And then good luck if they get really jammed. It's like almost you have to buy a new car. I mean, I've heard some horror stories. I've never lived through one of those, and I hope I never do. But anyway, I wanted to share that experience with you. And there's still a couple things that I have to do. As I mentioned in another video, I had to remove a portion of the liner. I still have to remove this and repaint and touch that up, but that's not a big deal. Other than that, I hope it's gonna last a long time, and I'll keep you posted. Again? Oh. 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 Sometimes I hate this car. I'm going to be using some rubbing alcohol to just remove the dust and have it ready for some paint. Now, as far as the painting goes, this is not going to be super heavy or anything like that. I'm just going to basically dust a couple of coats of Underhood black, and that should be enough. I'm just basically protecting some of these areas for overspray and stuff like that. And I'm gonna pay special attention to this portion here where there were some scratches, which is just all superficial stuff. So I think this is gonna be just fine with, again, maybe 2 light coats of paint. That's gonna look a lot better without those ugly details. All right, so I opened the garage door. Again, I'm gonna be using Eastwood's Underhood Black, which is really my favorite for this type of thing. And again, just giving it a very light dusting. I'm gonna let that basically just kind of cure for about 5 minutes, then I'll give it a second coat, a little heavier this time. You probably cannot tell from the camera, but there's an area here where it's gonna need a little extra paint. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned that before or not, it's about 80 degrees outside. It's a little humid, but I think it's gonna be okay for this paint. It's looking pretty good, but I think I'm going to need a few more touches up in this area where it was scratched, because yeah, it's going to need a little more paint there. The rest is looking pretty good, I think. So yeah, that's just a little overspray to deal with, but that is nothing. So back in a couple of minutes. Totally forgot to turn on the camera for the last coat. I was trying to concentrate around this edge here, which most of this stuff is not going to be very visible, but for the most part, I think I'm going to call it done. The area where it was scratched, you can still see almost like a faint little line, and that's because I probably didn't sand it well enough. But again, I don't want to keep spraying stuff here just for the heck of it. I think I'm going to call it done, allow it to cure for a few hours before I start putting everything back together. But anyway, that's it for now, guys. Turned out pretty good. It's a lot better than what it was before, so we're gonna call it finished. One thing I wanted to mention is you cannot ignore these indentations on the new liner. Now, some of you may be wondering, and rightfully so, if these things are actually cutting into the material. So far, after driving the car for about, I would say a good 2 to 3 hours, that is not the case. It seems to be holding up pretty well, and I hope it'll remain like that. This area here is not a major concern. This is, because that would be touching the air cleaner, which again kind of rocks a little bit. So that's one thing to be a little bit worried about. I am not at this point. Seems the material is forgiving enough to allow for that. Actually, it looks pretty cool, I think. Down here, you can see where these indentations are, which clearly correspond to this area. So that shows me that it's clearing the seal well enough, which is the whole idea. Now this portion here may be pushing a little bit onto the snorkel. I'm not that worried, because after all, this is, even though it's 3/4 of an inch, it is quite flexible, as you can see here, but only to a certain point, of course. But so far, it is looking pretty awesome. And again, I'm very happy with with how it's performed so far. About, like I said, 2.5 hours, maybe 3 of driving time. This ain't going anywhere. This is attached very firmly to the hood, to the underside. So anyway, just a quick observation in case you're considering getting one of these from Fat Mat. I think they're pretty awesome. I wish the foam was black, but again, there's only probably so much that they can do. So anyway, looking good, and I'll have a final report when I'm done putting everything back together. So what do you think? I know I'm biased, but I think it turned out pretty good. And while it would have looked better, like I had it originally all the way down to the bottom of the hood, still looks pretty awesome. So that's it for now. Oh, and before I forget, I decided to, I ordered some new material. I'm gonna build taller blocks for here because the hood is just dipping too much around that little hump area. So, and again, every time that you tweak something, it will affect either the front or the rear portion of the hood. And right now I have it aligned pretty well, except for these two spots. So I'm gonna experiment a little bit more and see if I can really bring it up just so it's as close as possible to the fender edges here. So anyway, that is it for now, guys. Thank you so much for following my videos and liking them and subscribing, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care.